Hey everybody, it's Matt. Long time no see. Haven't been doing a lot of videos here on the Deputy Matt channel. Been doing most of my stuff over on 2A Cops. However, this particular topic needs to be addressed everywhere it can be because this is absolutely insane, out of control kind of tyrannical government kind of thing. What I'm here to talk about today is what happened yesterday in New Mexico. The New Mexico governor basically decided she's queen and can do whatever she wants. So now the Democrats who've created this whole environment have decided that it's a bad thing, that the whole soft on crime, soft on criminals isn't working out because there's been lots of shootings. It's specifically in Albuquerque in Bernalillo County. So on Thursday, December 7th, the governor of New Mexico, her name is Lynn Lujan Grisham, Democrat. On Thursday, September 7th, she declared gun violence a public health emergency. That was regarding, she did this in response to a shooting of an 11-year-old who was shot on his way home from a baseball game. The news stories make it sound like it was a road rage incident. So she says, at least in her press release here, the time for standard measures has passed. Today I'm declaring gun violence a public health emergency in New Mexico. This administration has done meaningful work to pass legislation, support law enforcement, and significantly increase public safety resources to curb violence. She can say that all she likes. That's not the case. She's been begging for federal funding to try and get more cops. Of course, there's less cops because of all the policies that she's actually signed into place that have been soft on crime. So she can say whatever she wants in these press releases. Doesn't make it all true. And then in the same press release from Thursday, she says, the governor called, or the press release says, this is not a quote of hers, the governor called a meeting tomorrow to determine immediate steps that will be taken to crack down further on gun violence in New Mexico communities. All right, so that's Thursday. Yesterday, she went full Tyrant. In the meeting with the other law enforcement entities, she announced her plan. I'm going to read the press release, the title of the press release. Governor announces statewide enforcement plan for gun violence fentanyl reduction. Plan includes 30-day suspension of concealed open carry in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. She took it upon herself to just declare the Second Amendment null and void in that particular county because there's been a couple of shootings there. We're not talking like, Escape from New York kind of shootings. We're talking typical LA, New Mexico, lots of gang activity, Chicago kind of gun activity, gun crime. Okay, it's not like everybody's out there getting murdered by rampaging groups from like friggin' Mad Max running around the city. That's not what's happening. There's been some shootings, there's been some people who've been killed, and I'm not downplaying remotely the deaths of those people, especially the young kids that have been murdered because they just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You can't just say that there's no longer a Second Amendment because you're concerned about the gun crime that's been going on. However, if you take her word for it, and here I'll play the clip, she seems to think she can.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs.
So there she is. She says she can do whatever she wants, basically. I'm going to read from the press release here real quick. The action plan includes a suspension of open and concealed carry laws in Bernalillo County, temporarily prohibiting the carrying of guns on public property with certain exceptions. Those exceptions are for paid security officers and cops. And then I'm going to jump down here. She also is directing Regulation and Licensing Division to conduct monthly inspections of licensed firearm dealers to ensure compliance with all sales and storage laws. Because the gun stores are the problem. This lady's a freaking moron. So, let's talk about this here real quick. She has decided the Second Amendment is null and void for 30 days in Bernalillo County. And she's saying that because she says she can do whatever she wants if she declares an emergency, and she can declare an emergency for whatever she wants. Sounds an awful lot like a tyrant. For the people out there like, well, what the hell are the cops going to do? Every cop, every law enforcement agency has come out and denounced what she's saying it's not going to do anything.
Jessica, the move angered many leaders, including the police union, who say they feel strongly that this is a violation of the Second Amendment rights of citizens. A city councilor worries it will make the city more dangerous. There are a lot of questions tonight, including if the order is even legal and how it will be enforced.
And it's only going to affect law-abiding citizens. And guess what? She even admits that. Here, watch this clip.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No. But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message.
So there she is, right there, telling you she knows this is not going to stop the gun crime. It's only going to affect law-abiding citizens, and she doesn't give a crap. She's going to try and enforce it anyway. So this is what you can expect. The left, the political left, has been pushing to make gun violence a health emergency. Okay, and I even hate the term gun violence. It's crimes committed with a gun. And 99.9% of the time, it's gang violence. It's not gun violence. Okay, this is not, the guns aren't running around causing the problem. It is not a health issue. The CDC has no business tracking and trying to figure out cures for gun violence. I'm using that in air quotes, right? Gun violence is not a medical emergency. It is criminal actions that are the problem. Why do we have an increase in these criminal actions with firearms? Because they've been soft on crime. They are not locking up criminals. The solution to this problem we figured out decades ago, Back in the 90s, when there was like the biggest spike in homicides in the United States history was in the 90s, and it was all gang violence, and we knew what to do. We locked them all up, You're out committing crimes with a gun, you got locked up. Third strike laws got passed. Guess what? Crime has dropped dramatically. Now the liberals have been going back, and they've been undoing all those laws that were put in place, and shockingly, crime is increasing. So, look, your vote matters. Your vote counts, and votes have consequences. Quit voting for these freaking moron Democrats who want to blame firearms for criminal activity.